Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar today, the marketing webinar. We're just going to give it a minute or two to give people a chance to join, and then we will get started. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar today. We're just going to give it a minute or two to give people a chance to join, and then we will get started. Great. I think we can get started now. Most people have joined that looks to have signed up. So I just want to welcome you to the marketing webinar today. On the call, I'm Sahil. I'm the Key Partnerships Manager at BigGive. We also have Bethany, our Marketing Comms Manager, and Georgia from Globals Make Some Noise. Georgia will be delivering the content of the webinar today with all of sort of marketing expertise and going into all of that in detail. But before we begin and before I hand over to Georgia, I'm just going to go over some housekeeping. So you should be able to see the chat box on your right-hand side of your Zoom panel. So just make sure that is set to the reply is set to everyone so everyone can see what you're saying. You can introduce yourselves here, your name and organization. You can share any ideas in the chat. If we do any interactive exercises, you can contribute there. And then if you have any tech issues, please post them in there and we'll get to them as soon as possible. If you have any questions for the Q&A portion of the webinar, there is a Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom panel. Please put all of your questions in that box. Please avoid putting them in the chat because they can sometimes get lost. If you do need a closed captioning transcription service, that is enabled on this webinar. So if you click on the More button at the bottom of your Zoom panel, you should be able to turn that on if you do need it. And finally, this webinar is being recorded, so we will be posting it on our YouTube channel, so you can all rewatch it and share it with colleagues if you want to afterwards. And then if you have any additional questions after the webinar, you can either go to our support hub to try and find if one of the questions is already posted there and answer yourselves, or if you can't find it there, you can contact us at hello@biggive.org for any other questions that you may have. But with that all being said and done, I will now hand over to Georgia.
Thank you, Sahil. Hello, I'm Georgia and I am the marketing manager at Make Some Noise. I will just share my screen.
Yep, that's all good.
Perfect. So yes, I am Georgia and I'm marketing manager for Globals Make Some Noise. So I thought I would just run you through a short presentation on marketing and storytelling in the charity sector. And as Sahil said, we'll allow some time for questions in that Q&A box at the end. So I'll just start with a kind of quick intro to Globals Make Some Noise and who we are. We are the official in-house charity of Global, which is a big media brand in the UK, working with radio stations like Heart, Capital, Classic FM, Smooth, LBC, Radio X and Gold. And we also have a portfolio of kind of outdoor billboards and other stuff as well. So Make Some Noise, we fund projects at small local charities across the UK. So this is like mental health helplines, food banks, bereavement support, and loads more. So small charities, just like yourselves, right across the UK. And our audience is quite broad, given those who we're speaking to on those different marketing channels of the radio stations. So people quite often hear about us through our radio brands, and therefore we are speaking to obviously a wide mix of people. Some are LBC listeners, some are Smooth listeners, and some are Capital listeners. So as you can imagine, they're all quite different and interested in different things. But we do also have people that know us separately to the brands and those who might come through our commercial clients or know us through global. And again, they are quite a different demographic. So this is a real diverse mix. But one of the most important things when it comes to marketing is that we think about and understand our audiences. We have to think about them in absolutely everything that we do. And they really are one of the key kind of ingredients of storytelling. So that's definitely something I will be coming back to. So moving on to storytelling and starting here with your audience. First and foremost, the key to powerful storytelling is really knowing your audience. First thing to do is think about who your audience are and what they want to see. We want to make it important to them, as this will in turn result in hopefully the best kind of engagement from them. They are your community, so you should really be putting them first. And yeah, it's difficult because sometimes we have something that we want to share and we know how we'd best respond to it, but we have to put ourselves in their position, know who they are and understand how they might want to see it. People use digital platforms to be informed, inspired, and educated. So yeah, just because we know a story is amazing, it doesn't mean it will kind of stop them scrolling. We have to present it in a way that will work for them. We also don't want to overload them. We don't want content to get lost if we're posting out too much. So that kind of leads us on to think about the why, which is the common thread through all marketing. We need to think about why we're sharing it, why people should stop scrolling, why should the audience watch it. So this is again something that I'll keep coming back to throughout. It's really, really important and should always be in the back of your mind, and it comes alongside that kind of audience thing. They come together really. So to bring these thoughts together, we can kind of separate it into four key questions that you should always be asking yourself before creating a piece of content or before launching a campaign. So ask yourself, who are you talking to? Where should you speak to them? Why are you saying this? And what do you want them to do? So that's that call to action at the end. This will help you build a piece of content with the best chance of reaching the people you want to and getting the outcome that you are hoping for and getting them to do that kind of final action that you want. So it's super, super important. And I'll keep these on the next slide if you do want to make a note, and I'll just give you a quick example from the perspective of Make Some Noise. So we are quite unique. As I said, we're kind of like grant funder. So we fund small charities and we have a massive audience in various different places. So we do make quite bespoke content, thinking about who we want to speak to and what we want to kind of put in front of them. So this is just a quick example for what we might do. In this example, we want to create a piece of content for a heart audience. They're mostly females and an average age of about 43. So that is our kind of who, and we know that from the data that we've got. Our where are we going to speak to them is going to be Instagram and Facebook. And again, this is a decision based on data because we know that data shows this is the social kind of platforms that they are on. They are also Heart's biggest followed platform, so it makes sense to be present on there. The why we are saying this is we want to connect them with a personal story, as we know that's actually what engages them. And you'll learn this based on kind of trial and error experience, all of those kind of things, and also just seeing generally what content that audience responds well to, even if it's something that's not your own. So we want them to feel a connection to a story. So we would select a bespoke kind of story around the causes we know they care about, such as supporting families through difficult times. And then finally, we would come on to our what, our ultimate aim in this example, and our call to action, which you might see sometimes written down as CTA. Ultimately, we want them to support Make Some Noise by donating. So the whole content is kind of built with this in mind and what is going to lead them to do this. So here's just a quick example of a social asset that we posted from the Make Some Noise social Instagram account last year. And I've kind of highlighted the start, middle, and end, particularly of the caption. I think the key here is to make posts that you're doing and stories that you're telling feel like your brand. Tell the story in your way and present it in your way with your colours and your tone of voice, as that is really what people are interested. If people are interested in you and your brand, then they want to be served content that kind of supports that and doesn't stand out from that too much. So yeah, the stories themselves, obviously, the kind of key to storytelling is thinking about how you put that out there in the beginning, middle, and end, but that is quite important in the caption too. So in this one, we've started with a clear kind of start of defining the subject. We've gone for the individual in this case, and we quite often tell our stories focused on the individual rather than just sort of putting everything down in one place. We think of what it is that people are interested in. You know, people love real stories, and particularly the audiences that we're often speaking to in our social media. So we've started with the individual, and then we've gone on to give context about how we're supporting them and our impact. So bringing us into the mix so that they know what it is that we do in this case. So this was someone whose life was changed when he discovered an amazing walking group in his local community. And then we lead on to a charity project funded by Make Some Noise. And then that leads us on to the end, which is our clear call to action. So we want people to help us to support more people by giving today at makesomenoise.com and then directing them to the link in our bio to do so. And I think just joining that by popping in there that it was a charity project funded by Make Some Noise gives clarity and an example of where the money would be going if you were to also support. And here are two more examples. I have linked they're both videos and I've linked them in here, but I won't show you them now. But we can send around the slides afterwards and you can watch in your own time. But just wanted to kind of pull out the captions again here. So we've got two slightly different examples. Both of these were really powerful kind of storytelling videos. So as with any content, we want to, well, stop people scrolling on social media and draw their attention. So the very first thing they see is really important. In the videos themselves, it is those first 3 seconds. So making those first 3 seconds as powerful and impactful as possible. And in the captions, it's obviously that first kind of line, because sometimes the rest of it will not be able to be seen. It might be in a preview. So yeah, we don't just necessarily tell a story from start to finish. We will pick out the part of that story that will really grab people's attention and the real kind of essence of it. So in this first example, we've picked out a really powerful quote that, yeah, it's what the story is all about and why the story is so impactful. And then the second example, we've actually selected a statistic. So yeah, there are over 1 million young carers in the UK, like Flo, who the video is about. Both of these performed really well for us. They both had that clear kind of call to action at the end. And yeah, it was because we made a real focus in the last couple of years on focusing on that very first 3 seconds of the video and the very start of the caption. On the next slide, I just wanted to share a short form video with you that we've made a couple of years ago. It was part of our campaign where we were celebrating 10 years of changing lives. And it's a really great story. It's kind of self-filmed, authentic content, which I'll go on to explain afterwards why it performed so well for us. Let me just double check that I have audio. Yes, audio is linked. So I think it will play as soon as I click the next slide. But this is Theo's story, and he was supported by one of the small charity projects that we funded at a small charity called Checked.
Hi, it's Jamie Theakston here from Heart Breakfast. Now, I met Theo when he came here to the Heart Studio when Global's Make Some Noise supported the Children's Eye Cancer Charity back in, I think it was 2017. Anyway, Theo is such an amazing guy. He's overcome so many challenges, but he's always been overwhelmingly positive and full of life. This is Theo's story.
Hello, my name is Theo Sergio. I am 22 years old and I've been supported by Check since I was 3 months old because I had a rare form of childhood cancer called retinoblastoma, which has meant that I was blind in my left eye after I first kind of hit by cancer, and then had cancer again, which took out a lot of my right eye. I refused to kind of let that stop me. I kind of pushed beyond the boundaries. And that attitude, nearly 100%, is formed by having that community that Checked was there for me. I was given up originally. And I remember with Checked, kind of them encouraging me that I had potential because of my uniqueness. It allowed me to kind of excel in education. I went from failing like most of my mocks to then studying PPE at the University of Oxford. And someone who is visually impaired, God, I love podcasts, I love radio, I listen to it every morning. Podcast is how I love my life. It engages me in everything. I came to Global and I will never forget that day because it made me feel like such a...
Oh, sorry. I think there's been a bit of buffering there.
Hi,
But yes, I just wanted to kind of delve into why that was such a powerful piece of content for us. It was a really great story, and as you saw most of it there, it kind of just finished up with the end of his story. But we again knew that was kind of would work for a Heart audience, and that was the kind of content that they would be interested in, as Theo had been on Heart before. So we really focused on that. We asked Jamie Theakston to kind of do that intro piece, which would hopefully stop those Heart listeners scrolling, as it's someone they know, a familiar face, and a real personal connection to Theo. It's also was self-filmed, and the authentic content, like the story came from himself. It was his own words, not scripted, and that really helped as well. And that is something that I'll come on to a bit later in the social media section, because it is something that's kind of, I guess, trending at the moment. It's what people are looking for, and what they engage the most with. So yeah, if you take any recommendations from that, it would definitely be that not all video content needs to be super polished. You know, those self-filmed, really raw stories are really impressive and powerful, and people are interested in those. So moving on to a section more focused around social media, I wanted to just start this section by looking at the most used social media platforms in the UK. So you can see here that Facebook is quite high up at the top, with 72% of internet users aged 16 plus who use it each month. And then you can see Instagram is following it, and that's actually just sitting above X or Twitter, which has actually decreased since last year, and then follows TikTok and LinkedIn. And we know that there are lots of growing platforms. TikTok, I think we can expect to go up, and X potentially still to keep decreasing. So it's constantly changing, but just wanted to kind of share that as a bit of an overview. But also, we don't need to place too much importance on these, because just because they are the biggest kind of social media platforms, it doesn't actually necessarily mean that's where your audience are. So it's really good to know in terms of the platforms we should be looking at growing, but it is really useful to do your own research into what works for your audience. You might find that lots of your audience aren't actually on Facebook, they're on TikTok, which is great. It's such a great platform for discovery, and you can kind of focus your time on that. But yeah, it is useful to see that I think Facebook is still going really strong, and yeah, it depends what you're kind of exposed to and what you hear, but it's just useful to know that that's where they sit currently. And then just a quick snapshot on some social media demographics. Again, these are always changing, and might not be quite what you expect. Most platforms are serving people aged 25 to 34, even TikTok, which is actually often perceived as having a much younger base, but that is really increasing and is similar to most of the other platforms now. Instagram, interestingly, has the lowest age range, being majority 18 to 24-year-olds. And you'll also notice that most platforms have quite a balanced user base when it comes to gender. The one skewed most towards males is Twitter, but Instagram actually does have quite a high proportion of females. So yeah, just again, interesting insights, and you can kind of keep these slides afterwards, just so that you're aware. And then just a brief kind of overview of some social media trends at the moment. Now, we know that social media is ever changing, and nobody really can keep up with the trends. But here are some of the things that are currently trending in the world of social and have been for a little while. So we can expect that these things are kind of around to stay for now. The first is short form videos. So a little bit like that Theo clip that I showed you, about 60 seconds long or less. It's really difficult to kind of tell a story in that time, but if you can, I think that is the most kind of beneficial. You will start to notice, and we do the same. We still trial a few kind of longer videos every now and then, but you will start to notice that people's views kind of drop off towards the end, and they don't necessarily, their watch time isn't the full video. So as short and sweet as you can get a video, definitely you'll see kind of return on investment in that. The second one is carousel posts. So these are those posts on Instagram and TikTok that you scroll through images. So interestingly, the head of Instagram last week actually announced that carousels get more reach than singular images, as they get a second shot on people's feed. So it's if people don't see the post the first time it appears on their feed, Instagram might actually push it out again on the same person's feed, but a bit later in the day, and they'll just shift to show that second image instead of the first. So it's a bit of a like test in what stops people scrolling and what of those images they actually most interested in. So you could almost test that yourself and then take those learnings into what you post in the future. And then the third is quite an interesting one that's really booming at the moment, and that is social as a search engine. Particularly TikTok is a huge platform for discovery, where to eat, where to go on holiday, all of those kind of things. People are going on TikTok and other platforms because they trust the creators and the community on there, and they trust their opinions in many cases more than just searching on Google. So that's a really interesting one, and definitely something that's continuing to grow. Similar to that is shopping through social. Again, TikTok Shop is huge at the moment, but you can purchase through other platforms like Instagram. So this might be useful if you've got kind of charity products that you can link through your posts, and then it just kind of means that people can buy it in less clicks than having to go to the link in your bio, then to a page on your website, and then on from that. So that can work, and might be a good thing to trial if you've got products or anything similar. And then quite a key one here is authenticity and honesty. So people love the authentic, real and relatable content. People are also really appreciating brands being honest. You might have seen recently M&S posted a letter from their CEO, which kind of went viral in the social media world as like a really good thing for a company to do, owning up to things and just being really open and honest with their audiences. And yeah, that kind of translates into video content or even the static kind of posts. Just, I think, where you can, being as authentic and honest with those stories as you can be. And this kind of leads us on to the user-generated content. Again, you'll see lots of brands doing this now. It's that authentic self-filmed stuff. And you don't necessarily need the kind of polished full video and audio teams every time. That does work in certain settings, definitely. But for social media, you can just go with that sort of, more raw content. And then the final one is building strong communities, which again, super important in the charity sector. And platforms are really leaning into this at the moment. They're building more and more features to engage our communities. You might have seen Instagram and WhatsApp now have kind of broadcast channels, which is where creators or whoever launches those can post in those groups. People can respond, they can engage with others in the community. And yeah, it's just, they can be really, really nice, positive spaces. And I just wanted to share a content calendar with you. This is for this year, with some kind of key awareness days coming up. These might be useful to note in your diary, but there are so many more, and there'll be so many specific to your sector that you can research online. And there'll be others that you might want to include in your own kind of internal calendar. So they're really useful to note down. They're good times of year to celebrate and raise awareness of the causes that are close to you. It can also help to spark ideas for creative campaigns and content. So a good task to set yourself after this webinar might actually be to sit down and build your own social content calendar. You can include key dates like this, the ones that are most relevant to you, but you can also slot in like campaigns that you do annually, or brands that you work with that have got stuff coming up. So there's lots you can slot in here, but just wanted to highlight some of those. But yeah, again, a really good task to go away and do this yourself. And now moving on to marketing channels, tools and platforms. So we've touched a lot on social media, which obviously still does feed into this, but there are other platforms out there. So first and foremost, again, you want to be remembering your audience and finding where they are. And you can kind of, go to them. So this could be social media platforms, as we have discussed. You might not find that you actually need to be on all of them. So you can focus time where your audience is. You might have some that you want to grow. And again, you can focus time there and kind of try and move some of your audience across to multiple platforms. You could also do email marketing. So within this, you can kind of segment your audiences and send tailored communications. You might have some who have previously donated, others who have previously done their own fundraiser or done the marathon for you, or whatever it might be. And it's really good to know who those groups are and group them separately so that you can speak to them in different ways about what they might be interested in. For example, if you have got a group of people that have previously run the marathon for you, you might then reach out to them with another kind of running or sport related event or campaign that they might be interested in. So you can, again, it's just thinking about them, what they want to see and what they want to hear, and just making sure that you're tailoring your comms to them as much as possible. And then you've also got your website, obviously. This is your kind of main hub. So this is where people will search to come and find out everything about you. Obviously, you will have all of your kind of information about who you are. You might have your team, you might have key dates and events coming up. But you do want to make sure you think about this quite cleverly as well, in not just sort of like putting everything on there with no system and no order. So I think probably best to think carefully about what's on your homepage here. A lot of people will find you and come to the homepage, but if they can't find what they need, they may not spend too long looking much further. So yeah, thinking about what's on your homepage, make sure it's relevant to what you're sharing on your other platforms and quite timely. And hopefully then you'll see that your kind of engagement and stuff increases. And then finally, your charity might host a lot of in-person events. Again, as you're working quite locally, you might be finding that that's where you kind of meet your audience and what your audience engage best with. But again, put them first and think about what they want to get out of these. As much as you want to know what you want to get out of them, think about what it is that they want to take away from those, so that you can keep them engaged and keep them as your audience in the future. And here are just a few free tools of marketing and platforms. All of these I really, really recommend. And there are loads of tutorials out there for all of them. So the first, if you're kind of designing assets for social media, events, email marketing, whatever it might be, Canva is a really, really great tool. You can go on there and you can make assets of any size that you like, but it's also got loads of great templates. So you can kind of search like, I want to do a brochure, and they'll give you some templates, or I want to do a presentation. I have actually made this presentation on Canva. So it's so good for kind of, it's got a bit of everything. It might feel overwhelming when you first open it, but it is really user friendly. And like I said, if you just go on YouTube, there's loads and loads of tutorials on how to get your own font on there, how to edit text, how to use the templates, how to use their kind of elements, and like they have lots of sort of like design things that you can insert as well. So really recommend Canva, and we use it every single day. For editing videos, well, you can actually edit some videos stuff on Canva, but I would say these kind of two other platforms, CapCut and iMovie, are more built for video specifically. Both also free, and you can get CapCut on your phone or you can get it on your laptop. And it's just, again, really user friendly. The kind of CapCut was really built for people making social media videos. So yeah, really recommend that. iMovie you might have on laptops and things already, and that's kind of free software as well. So that does the job for a lot of things too. And both of these have sort of, and Canva as well, if you are using Canva for video editing, have royalty free like music and sounds that you can access. So obviously worth checking what you are able to use and not able to use, and copywriting and all of those things. But yeah, they have some that you can use and won't get in trouble for. So that's really good too. And then for scheduling social content, a lot of this you can do in apps, but I thought just worth mentioning Meta Business Suite. So Meta own Facebook and Instagram, so you can schedule for both platforms through there. And you can use it to schedule the same content that goes out on Instagram and Facebook, or you can edit the caption slightly for each, but put the same photo, whatever it might be. That's really useful. And also it has all of your insights and stuff on there. So that kind of leads me on to the final one, which is Social Insights. Generally, there's so many social insights platforms out there. We at Global have changed the ones that we use like every couple of years. And I would really just recommend for now using the in-app tools. They're really good. TikTok has its own insights, so does Instagram. All of them do. You'll be able to access even lots on LinkedIn. I was looking through our LinkedIn stats the other day, and it's quite interesting if you kind of allocate some time to it and actually delve into it, the stuff that you can find, and using that to obviously inform your future content is super useful. So I would recommend just getting used to kind of what's in the app themselves. And finally, I just wanted to end on a short slide about database management and how we kind of use this to reach our ultimate goal of having an engaged audience. I mean, that is everyone's goal in the world of kind of digital and stuff. So yeah, the database management can be quite an important factor in that. As I've mentioned again and again, ideally we want to be speaking to people who are interested and engaging with our content, but this isn't always the case. You might have people in your database that actually are no longer engaged or potentially signed up and didn't realize what they were kind of signing up to or whatever that might be. So for example, in email marketing, we don't want to be paying up the platform we're using to be keeping our contacts on our database. If they aren't opening our emails, we can do something much better with that. We can, get more contacts on there who are engaged, and that's kind of just more worth the content and your time. So it is really good every now and then to look at how we re-engage contacts. So you could trial different content and see what works and what engages more people, and maybe it's not the content at all, but you can again then tailor that for when you figure out what people like and don't like, you can then go out to those different audiences with the tailored content for them. So that's a really good option. Just trial and error is one of those massive things in marketing that we all have to do and be okay with. And it's super, super useful. Sometimes things might not go your way and you might spend ages on something and it might not do that well, but maybe you just haven't reached the right audience. So yeah, managing that kind of stuff. And then the second point is that you could also send a series of emails to find out if this is your email marketing you're looking into, to find out who your most and least engaged contacts are. We have actually done this. It's called like a re-engagement series, and we sent out a series of emails to people to kind of resubscribe. So the pool of people were those who had not engaged in our content in over a year. So we sent the first email to the whole group. We sent the second email to those who didn't open the first, and the third email to those who didn't open the second. And yeah, asking them to just kind of click back in to resubscribe if they want to stay on our database. And then at the end of something like a system like that, you'll have a massive list of people who either didn't open any email, did open this email. You'll have all this information about them and you can decide what you want to do with them. So that kind of stuff can be really interesting. And you can test out different subject lines on emails. Again, see where your open rate is higher and what really engages and brings people in. So yeah, they're just a couple of things in database management. So I haven't delved into that too much, but I would say just knowing your audience and knowing your data is super important. And then you can kind of make those decisions on what you test or stop doing or do in the future and all of that. So that is it from me. I appreciate that was a really quick kind of whistle-stop tour. But if you've got any questions, we can open the Q&A box. I've put the contact details and social media handles for Globals Make Some Noise on here. So we would absolutely love to connect. And yeah, we are so looking forward to working with you on the campaign. So if you've got any questions, let us know.
Thanks, Georgia. That was a really great presentation. Lots of great advice there for charities to take away. While charities think about the questions they want to ask, we did actually get asked a question on Monday from a charity asking if they can approach your stations or your sort of local stations to promote their campaigns. Is that something okay with Global, or is there a process?
Yeah, so there's a bit of a process, and from our side, we're working out how we promote this campaign the best way as well. It's not the best way is probably to come via us if you're interested in anything kind of locally. We have less local stations than we used to because there's been a bit of a change up recently, but there are potentially still opportunities, with regional journalists and a few regional presenters here and there. But best way for anything kind of related to Make Some Noise and the radio brands would be to come via us rather than going directly to the brands themselves.
And just on that, Georgia, do you mind putting up the contact slide again, just so charities can note those down?
Of course.
I saw one question earlier on from Penny in the chat. She asked kind of what are Global doing during Small Charity Week in terms of marketing. So will you be encouraging your listeners and followers to go to the Big Give website and donate, or will you be asking to donate to Global and then you'll disperse the money?
Yes, so we're planning lots of exciting content at the moment. So you will see Small Charity Week stuff on our platforms and across a couple of our brands too, our radio brands. We are encouraging people to go to the Big Give site. So there's no kind of encouragement from us to donate directly to Make Some Noise. It's all about the Small Charity Week campaign. And our main message really is, yes, celebrating the amazing and vital work that small charities are doing super locally. So that is kind of our key message.
And just on that follow-up question from Penny about resharing content, both Big Give, I believe NCVO and potentially Global will be resharing stories and things we see from charities throughout the week. So do tag us if you have enough space in your messages, and we'll try to reshare as much as we can.
Yeah, please do. We'd love to connect and engage with you also. Even if you give us a quick follow after this, we can follow you back.
And you mentioned authenticity quite early on in the storytelling. So I know sometimes some resource, due to resource constraints and capacity, some charities have used like AI tools to help create images. Is that something you would generally suggest to avoid, to use like those sort of AI images in posts and things like that? Or is there a time and place for them?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say always avoid that, because actually you're right. Sometimes there can be a time and place for that. And actually, if you want to share out a really engaging piece of content and you want an image in that and you feel it's going to benefit it, then I think that is fine. There are so many tools we can use now, AI, ChatGPT, all of these things that can actually support the work that we're doing. I think it's always just useful to like triple check, double check these things. But yeah, absolutely fine to kind of do that stuff.
Oh, Beth, you're on mute.
Sorry, thank you. I would echo that just by saying as well, some social platforms now actually have a little pop-up that comes up if you do use an AI generated image, just to say that it is that. So you might just want to have like a little disclaimer in your social copy or in your email, just to say this image was generated by AI. But otherwise, again, I would definitely encourage you to make use of all the tools you have available.
And Louise is asking, is there a preferred timetable for the marketing so we can use to follow, or is it just on a case-by-case basis, like depending on the charity's own schedule?
Do you mean in terms of like when charities and stuff should be posting in terms of social media, or is this or in terms of the campaign?
Yeah, that'll be good clarification, Louise. But I guess like for charities themselves, when they should be like posting and yes, on socials, you said.
Okay. Yeah, there's loads of data out there about this, and again, ever changing. And I did think about including it in this actually, but it is so different for every brand. And I think you'll find your groove with social media and you'll find when works best. I mean, it depends for us. If we're posting content with our presenters that are on air on the breakfast shows, for example, we find posting when they're on air is really good in the morning. But generally for other content, we find the afternoon, because not a huge amount of people are on their phones at like 7 a.m. So again, it's all about your audience and what works for you. But there is a lot out there on kind of the best times for posting. And actually some of those tools like Meta Business Suite will actually give you a bit of an idea based on the content that you've posted. So I definitely recommend looking into that. And that's kind of bespoke to you as well if you're logged into the platform, as that might really help. Other things like if you look online at anything, Sprout Social is quite useful for kind of data and insights. So yeah, I would gain your knowledge on that from experience, but also use those tools on the app platforms themselves.
I think say as well, just from our own data, is like email is definitely the biggest driver in general of donations. So yeah, our advice to charities is just don't neglect that. That should be probably a quite high priority alongside the other socials you're doing, just based on what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I mean, in our remit, we have a really engaged audience on our email marketing platform, partly because of that re-engagement campaign we did last year. But actually, those people, lots of them do open the emails and have donated. They've come to us because they have donated in the past. Whereas people on social may just see one post that they like and follow and then not kind of look too much into the rest. So yeah, again, it's thinking about all of that kind of stuff. And we do find as well that social is great and it's great for engagement and all of this, but you might not see such a fast return on investment in terms of donations. You might have to build up that audience and nurture them and then hope that eventually they'll kind of move over to your email marketing platform or be interested to donate in the future.
Great. And I saw a question come in on the Q&A box. Said, is there a specific launch date for us to announce our participation?
I think I've seen a couple of charities announce already. I think just to check with you both from Big Give that is okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and obviously our bulk of content will come on the 23rd, the start of the week from then onwards. But happy for you to be sharing stuff and tagging us and stuff before that. And yeah, obviously that is the period for donations, but it is definitely worthwhile letting people know that you're involved in the campaign and teeing them up for that week.
And just a note on that, you should all have access to your unique campaign page that's held on Big Give. If you don't for any reason, it's normally down to the bank details. Either you haven't uploaded them or you're still waiting for them to be approved or there's some issue or anything like that. So if you're unsure, you can't access your page for any reason at the moment, do just send us an email and we're happy to help sort that out. But from any time from now, you can start sharing that unique campaign page and the donate button will appear on that page from 12 p.m. midday on the 23rd.
I think Freya's put this question in the chat and the Q&A, so I'll just get to it now. Do you have any tips on alt text integration?
Good question. I mean, a lot of the apps now provide this and you'll see pop-ups come up. So definitely make the most of them where they do. In terms of, we do loads of video content and we do always make sure that is kind of subtitled and audio and all of that. But you will sometimes notice that if you've, for example, with a video, if you might have subtitled it yourself and then you might upload it, like I did one earlier that I uploaded to LinkedIn, and then it put its own captions on top of it. And you want to just make sure that you're not doubling up, otherwise actually they'll go on top of each other and people won't be able to read them. But yeah, in terms of alt text and stuff, I would use the platform's own stuff that they put forward and just double check that you're okay with what text is in that and all of that, because sometimes it might generate something automated that you might not quite want.
Just for anyone not on the chat at the moment, I've just put the link to the charity Trello board. So in that, you'll have links to all of our logos, our key message documents. There's editable Canva templates that you can use to start creating your own social media assets. There's links to kind of email banners and stickers and everything. So you can use that as kind of first point of call for any like resources. But do send us an email if there's something particularly you really, really want and it's not there, and we'll see what we can do to help.
There's a question from Abigail. When should we start email posting, or should it be the week before, 2 weeks before now?
Yeah, that is interesting, and it depends how much contact you have with your email database at the moment. I would say obviously you want those donations to come in that week once that donate link is live. So if you are doing messaging before that, I think just know what you want to get out of it is not donations. So you can go in with the sort of like raising awareness, telling those stories and getting people kind of ready for the campaign, but there's no need to kind of go hard on the donation ask until the campaign is live, and then really think about your kind of subject lines and how you draw people in without them, you know, what's going to interest them and make them click to open that. And then once they've clicked to open it, you'll likely have like a really great charity story in there that will make them want to donate. So I would say definitely you can go out earlier, but it does depend on how much your database are used to receiving emails from you anyway.
And I think that goes for Louise asked the question, is there a 4-week plan for the campaign? For example, 4 weeks before, make sure you have done X, Y, and Z. From our point of view, we don't generally issue those plans just because every charity is different. They have a different audience, and what works for one charity may not work for others. So we're not prescriptive like that. We offer advice, but it's really, I think there is that onus on charities doing that sort of that mapping of their audiences to understand how they respond to the sort of messaging, etc.
We do have as like another resource that's both linked in the Trello, but also on our website. We have a range of case studies from charity partners who've taken part in campaigns like this before. They mainly relate to our Christmas challenge, but all of the insights can be used across our campaigns and they're really useful. So I definitely encourage you to have a look at that and see what other charities have done. And you can also plan your comms around some of those ideas as well.
There is a question from Gary. Can we edit our campaign page? So you can't edit the copy for the campaign page. So that is taken from your application. You can edit the media asset. So that can be done at any point, even during the campaign. So you can change the banner, the quotes, the sort of videos and the images. There's also, if you go to your campaign dashboard, there is an edit media tab. So you can edit everything there. You can also, there is also a thank you message in the donor receipt email, so you can edit that thank you message as well. That is sent to your the people that have donated to your campaign. I'm not seeing any questions, but Beth, I just want to, as our marketing comms manager, I want to ask if you have any other top tips for charities.
Yeah, put me on the spot there.
Yeah.
No, I would just say as much. I think I've probably echoed this in loads of webinars. If you've seen any of our webinars before, apologies. But I would just say plan as much as possible now. This is the kind of the perfect opportunity to kind of get as much done as you can before the week. The week campaign goes by so quickly. So as much as you can do in terms of, creating your social media assets, scheduling all of your comms, planning for different scenarios throughout the campaign, even creating like a pack for your supporters to be able to easily share, like your trustees, even team members or volunteers that you work with. Anything just to kind of make your life as easy as possible during that campaign week, so you can kind of focus on just incentivizing donations and getting your team involved, or even any in-person events you're doing, rather than trying to focus on doing everything all at once in that week by itself. And very much appreciate a lot of you are, fundraising or marketing teams of one. So definitely as well, just try to utilize a lot of the resources that we have available. Again, that kind of Trello is a great resource if you're limited to time in creating those assets. But we also have like a Facebook fundraising group which you can join and talk with other charities and connect with charities that way. Just, yeah, as much as you can, use the resources available and don't be afraid to reach out to us. And we're happy to answer any questions or support you as much as we can.
Yeah, I'd echo what Beth said. Try and maybe create some milestones before the campaign, so something that Louise alluded to, but make them obviously specific to your charity and what your goals are for your campaign. So in like by X week, you want to have done this, you would want to have like drafted all your emails, or you want to have like your posts for LinkedIn ready to go. And also the other thing, what we suggest is have a think about different scenarios that could happen during the campaign week and try and see if you can plan for them as well. So say if you are fortunate to hit your target before the campaign ends, you can still receive donations. They won't be matched, but how do you want to change up your messaging? Because it'll be, maybe you want to then change up to, oh, we've already hit our target, but anything you donate to us is sort of going to a great cause and helping our work. So maybe planning for those eventualities, but also if maybe you're a bit off track where you want to be during the campaign week, what type of messaging do you want to send out there to sort of try and boost that support? I know one charity from one of the case studies, I think they had like a message from their CEO lined up in the sort of background, so to help boost their campaign during that midweek lull. So yeah, just think about those scenarios and see what you can plan there as well. That's really helpful. But I can't see any more questions, so I think we'll give everyone some time back today. But I do want to remind everyone, we do have the Ask Us Anything webinar on Friday, so please do join for that. That is a webinar for all of you. It's really dependent on the questions you ask, so that webinar will go on as long as you ask us questions. So please do have any questions lined up for that one. We'll be joined by Global and NCBO for that webinar. I want to say thank you to Georgia for taking time out of her day to join us today and share her advice. It's been a really great presentation, and I want to thank all of the attendees for joining us today. Hope everyone has a great rest of the day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.